Today we are going to put my swing under the microscope. Shaun, probably no one seen me play golf more than Shaun, and he's going to kind of tell you what he sees, and then we're going to try to fix it. I'm just going to try to be the best student I can.
Like Mike said, I've seen him play a lot of golf over the years, and I've seen his swing evolve to accommodate his...
It's a nice way of saying it.
Yeah. He's got back problems, so do I, but his are a bit more severe than mine. He's got screws in his back, right? And he's had some pain over the last few years, and I've seen his swing evolve to kind of get around that pain. So he gets more left balls than he would like, probably.
Yeah, the thing that probably disappeared from my swing more than anything, and of course has a downhill effect, is side bend. That was the most physically painful thing to do. And
if you can't have side bend, it's hard to put the handle in the right place. Right. It's hard to make, I would say, more of a tour style release. You start to get too flippy and rolly because there's no body activation there, and then
making me sweat.
Yeah, the ball starts going low and left. And if I had one thing to say about his game when I've watched him the last whatever times we've played, he gets a little too many low left balls, and it just makes you not really want to play. And
we'll combine that physical issue with growing up. It was always early wrist set, early wrist set, early wrist set.
Me too.
So I think we're going to see probably a dumpster fire combination of all those things.
So we've been working on it a little bit, right? Because your back's feeling better. But why don't you take like your normal pass at it?
Okay, you want to calibrate me first?
Yeah, let's calibrate you. So let me pull this up here. So once I hit this is so simple. You guys are going to love this app. HackMotion's done a great job with it. Just you hit calibrate. I'll hit recalibrate. So it's telling Mike to keep his wrist like that for a second. And I say it's in position. And then he's going to make about a 30-degree rotation in just his forearm. I'm going to say it's in position. Now it's asking Mike to make some hand movements to make sure it's live, and it's capturing all of that. So it's ready to go. I'm going to click done, and it's pretty much ready to hit. So I'm going to get out of your way.
Okay.
And you're going to take call it your normal pass at it.
Okay, yeah.
And we'll take a look.
Going to go play today, and I've got one of your old clubs, so not quite the same clubs that I play with, but we'll see if we can make a similar motion.
Yep. Ready to go when you are. Cool. So it caught that. So basically, looking at this here, just what I would expect to see, right?
Okay.
Too extended with the lead wrist at the top.
Okay.
Too much radial, which those two kind of tie together, and then down at the bottom, a little bit too much this kind of rotation with the flip into the hit. So that's the low left ball, I would say.
Does that jive with what you see? Because I can tell you, I don't like the way it feels because I can feel all of that happening.
Yeah, and not to take words out of your mouth, I've made this kind of swing because I've had a bad back over the years. I'm starting to get way better body movements. It feels loose, like
that's exactly what it feels like. It just feels a lot of flash down at the bottom.
Yeah, a flash club face is what we've called it over the years.
If you haven't subscribed already, please do. And also click on the link in the first pinned comment below. We're going to show you how we do all this outside in the real world on the golf course.
So, talk us through the things that we've been working on, because obviously we know the body needs to move different with the side bend and the rotation, but what are you feeling with the backswing and the transition?
Probably the most drastic difference was getting myself out of the habit of an early wrist set. And I feel the pain of that. And by pain, I mean golf pain, not physical pain, in my short game.
Okay.
Right, so you're talking about hitting those distance wedges. When that club is flashing up here a lot, it makes trajectory way more difficult.
It really does. And you're trying to launch those wedges like around 30, a little under. I've been with you again. They kind of float a little bit too much, especially the wind's coming at you. It's hard to control it. So let's show them.
So my feel for that is that there's zero wrist set.
Exactly, and obviously there's going to be some wrist set, but this is where the feel and the real comes in. You've heard us talk about it a million times. You have to create your own feel, and you need to do that with feedback. So once you have your feel, you can go back and look at the HackMotion data and say, oh my Lord, I have to feel basically uncocked at the top of the swing. That's what you've been telling me.
Yeah, because when I try to feel what I think would be the right range, it changes minimally at most. So I've got to feel an extreme just to have it show up.
And we always say, that feel's going to change. So if Mike does this for a week, he might not need to feel as much. But you have to have the data when you practice so you can reel that in. It's like, oh, today I only need to feel this much. And it's kind of a moving target. That's what makes golf a little bit harder than other sports, I would say. But having something like HackMotion, you can kind of reel in that feel when you go play golf.
Okay, so what I'm going to try to do is control, my only thought is going to be to control the radial, which is the cocking motion of my left hand.
Okay.
We'll see if that has a downhill effect.
Perfect. And when he's not as cocked, it should take out some of the extension too, because that's like a coupled motion.
Yeah, because if you bow your wrist, you're not going to cock it very much.
100%.
I'm not going to try to bow it. I'm just going to try to take out the radial.
Are you going to do anything different here with the body?
Right now, I'm just going to try to do one thing.
Cool. That's probably good.
Okay.
Ready when you are. Bingo.
Did it change?
It did. So I'll show you the numbers so you can see. Pretty good try for the first crack at it. In range at the top, flexion extension.
Okay.
Impact to flex, which I kind of like at this point.
Okay.
Because I feel like a lot of times you're a little scoopy. And in range with the radial.
Okay.
I loved it.
Okay.
Let's do it again.
See if we can do 2 in a row. The pressure on me.
Good. So again, in range with the flexion extension, in range at impact with the flexion extension, ulnar radial in range now. So you're making the right changes.
Okay, so that 0 wrist set is the right amount of wrist set.
100%.
Okay.
That puts you in the range.
That's an easy, and this is how I like to use technology for my own game, is find the one string to pull on, where I can think about that. And if I pull on the right string, other things get better, not trying to feel 3 different things at once.
Yeah, you want to tip the right domino.
Right.
Or the queen bee fault.
This is where a good teacher comes into play.
It does. You have to have an instructor that knows how much to give you and when. And you know, not to get off track, I used to talk to Hal Sutton a lot. When I worked at David Tom's Academy, I asked him why he thought Butch was such a great teacher, and he said he knew how much information to give me and when to give it to me, and he had a plan in his head moving forward, and that's the mark of a great teacher.
There's something that I tend to do in my swing, and again, this is a little bit off track, is I tend to get too weak of a grip. Can I see how if that makes things better or worse?
You can, yeah.
I've never done it relative to this.
Okay, let's do it.
So I'll do too weak, which is my tendency.
So, got you in range at the top and at impact with the flexion extension, but still too radial.
Too radial, okay. So let me try it the other way. Let me try to go a little stronger, which is what I was doing when we started. That's kind of been a cue of mine. I actually felt that. Did it radial too much?
No, it didn't. So I think, you know what else was good about that? That swing, the rotation was in the benchmark. So you didn't have to. So what you're doing now, you're not having to over roll the lead arm, which is going to quiet the club face down, and you're going to be forced to side bend and turn a little more, which I think is the right direction for you. If I'm giving you a lesson right now, I'm saying I like that.
So my cue of just, you know, at home making swings to make sure I've got, and I like how you described the strength of a grip is not getting that wrist too flat.
Yeah, if you have your
so if I get my grip too under it, that wrist gets really flat, and to make sure I keep some flex in it, or some extension in it, I should say, that lets me have a classically little stronger grip, probably more neutral than anything.
Yeah, and if it's pointed at your belt buckle, that's kind of a good spot to check that. If you notice on the HackMotion at address that the flexion extension number is different than it was the last time you gripped it, your grip's moving around too much.
Okay.
You need to get a consistent spot on the grip where you grip it every time the same way. Interestingly enough, I want to try something here.
Okay.
We didn't talk about this. The radial at impact, a little too much, so you could probably feel, I think what it is, you could feel...
That's what I feel on that last one. It felt heavy.
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't get up enough.
So I think you got to get out of the ground a little more, like and stretch out your lead side so that can uncock. And I think that's going to be the last piece of the puzzle, and you just shoot 63 every time. If you can.
Is that all I need to do?
That's it.
Every putt will go in?
Yeah. Yes.
So more through there.
Handle's going to feel high at impact and not much wrist hinge at the top at all.
Better strike.
Really good flexion extension to radial.
Okay, I lost it. So I took my mind off of that.
All right, I'm going to say something to you here. You got to slow down, dude.
Okay. Okay.
We've said it every time in lessons.
No, you're right.
And I do it too. Slow it way down, especially at the top, feel almost a pause. This is basically how we would give a lesson.
Yeah, I took my mind off of one thing and it just reverts back.
So give me 40 miles an hour-ish. Yeah, super duper slow-mo. Bingo, all green.
Okay.
So at speed, it's hard because we start to use momentum. We say this all the time in private lessons, right? Or in our golf schools. You get a lot of momentum going. He's going to fight at first to feel that. Can you hold this club for a second? So basically, this turns into a weight. If I go fast and don't put enough force on it away to hold it up, it's going to bounce. So you may have to go slow first to feel that, and then you gradually ramp it up.
Well, I mean, it's a perfect example of when you're the player. It's easy to say this when you're the coach, but when you're the player, the faster you go, the more you're going to make the move you're most familiar with.
Least resistance from your brain. It just wants to do
You're just
normal.
going to do what's the habit for you, and I'm trying to change the habit. So that's a very good cue for me. I can get in the zones and I just let my body do it rather than try to do it with speed.
And watching you do that, I'm looking at this swing like, just the eye test passes for me. We've seen a lot of good swings over the years. So it's interesting how just figuring out how the wrist move, because it has such an effect on the club, is going to change how your body moves, and you get a lot of stuff for free, I would say.
Well, and there's not a lot of ways
to do it,
to get my wrist to do that and still make a decent shot.
So you kind of chicken and the egg, but wow, we really love the HackMotion. You can turn it on out of the box, put it on, start using it, and there's so much benefit from it.
Yep. Adam, are we going to have a link for this down in the first pin comment? Check out the first pin comment if you're interested in getting this type of feedback for your own game. There's no better authority for how the wrist and forearms move than HackMotion, and it's so simple to use. Even someone like me can benefit from it.